Hello, this is Father Rich coming to you from the basement of the social room, as we call it, of the Our Lady of Peace Rectory and Parish offices. I'm here in what we call the Knights of Columbus corner. Here is the charter and for the OLP Council, started in 1994. They do great work here at the parish. We're very grateful to have them here. I'm a fourth degree Knight myself and a big supporter of the Knights. The Blessed Mother, they're very devoted to her. And really all things Catholic. This is actually Carl Anderson picture of the Grand Knight for the whole world right now. And when it comes to the name, I kind of was thinking to myself, when it comes to Catholic and Patriot, I was kind of wondering, I wonder if we ever would have called and could have called this group the Knights of Carroll. Because of the significant impact of a man with that last name who was part of the revolution and the development and the founding of our country. So this essay, it's the next one on our How the Church Has Changed the World series we're doing. So today it's called The Forgotten Father. And it starts with telling the story about a man watching a parade. And that this man was up in years, and the drums and the bands were going by, and every time when they got to the place where he was and he stood, he would have the attention of everybody and a rousing round of applause. The man's name was Charles Carroll, and this was in Carroll town. This was they're depicting the story of the 100th centennial of the birth of George Washington, and we know that he's considered, if probably the founding father for our country of the United States. But it was at his celebration that Carroll would stand. He was the only living, in 1832, the only living signer of the Declaration of Independence. And so they honored him for that, and that's probably the only thing he's really still known for. But when we look at his life more fully, we realize what an incredible impact that he had, and even more so he could have had, as an American, a patriot, but also as a Catholic. So he was a part of not only the signing of the Declaration of Independence, but he was part of helping the founding of or the continuation of the colony of Maryland. Remember, it was officially established as a Catholic colony, sympathetic. Now, soon after, years after it was founded, the Protestant influence would have it retract that approach. Remember, most of the colonies had anti-Catholic laws. They were formed on kind of a rejection of even the Rome sympathies of the Church of England. So the Puritans, they were trying to even get away from what they saw as being the influence of the Roman Church in England and coming to the United States. That was one thing amongst many. So, so he's part of this colony of Maryland. He would be encouraged and invited to be part of the Second Constitutional Gathering, Congress, and certainly his views would be implemented. He would have a big influence. He was a big part of the First Amendment, of that religious liberty, and helping that to be established. When President Washington died, they actually finished his time in office, as the first president. Many were hoping and promoting Charles Carroll to consider running for president, which he declined. He declined to be on that on the Second Continental Congress as well, but still had significant influence and was widely respected. One other thing that he was called to do in the midst of the Revolutionary War, he and Ben Franklin, who they say they had a surprising friendship, because they were such opposite in their personalities, even in their moral life. Carroll being a more kind of exemplary in his example, whereas we know Benjamin Franklin had his vices. But they went up to Quebec together during the Revolutionary War and sought to get the French Catholic Canadians to support the Americans, the Revolution. That effort failed, but they brought Charles Carroll with them to give validity to the Catholic perspective. So really remarkable and how he would have that impact, even though they didn't end up joining our side. And they also say that he was part of the negotiation with the French and in trying to get them to become part of the war we know from Europe. And I think we all are aware that the French joining the war is really what turned the tide and helped this new country win and form. And so part of this essay is saying if Charles Carroll wasn't a part of the revolution and all of these moments, and we could say this about certainly multiple key players, but the question of would we even be here as a country because of how significant his influence was. He'd also have a son who'd go on to be the first bishop of the Catholic Church in the whole new United States. Remember, one diocese of Baltimore for all of the colonies until 1808, when it would be split up into 4 more and 5 total, and we'd grow from there. He really is, and I think it's a great title for the essay, A Forgotten Father, to see the impact that he had as a Catholic on helping bring our country, even in a very anti-Catholic atmosphere. He was well respected, and people overcame that because of what a good man he was, what an intelligent man he was, what a fair and honest man he was. And so it's certainly worth celebrating that as Catholics. And that makes me wonder, because when the Knights of Columbus were trying to establish their name in the late 1800s, as the Catholic immigrants were coming, and there was a need specifically to provide insurance for widows and children of Catholics who had died because they had a lot of the legal laws against them, Catholic men, they established the Knights of Columbus to reinforce that you can be patriotic and a Catholic. That was one of the slams or the criticisms of the Catholics, is that they're never faithful to their country because they're faithful to the Pope first. But this group, and certainly has helped, and we see it to this day, be widely accepted. You can be a faithful Catholic and a patriotic, faithful American. So I can't help but wonder still, though, because of who Charles Carroll was, if it would have been better to call him the Knights of Carroll, maybe he wouldn't be a forgotten father. But Columbus certainly was Catholic as well, if you remember. And nonetheless, we have this great group. So I'm going to conclude by just showing you. So we have a picture of one of the last popes, a big supporter of the Knights and promoter, St. John Paul II. We have Columbus there in the corner for the Knights of Columbus. And then Father Michael McGivney, who's going to be beatified October 31st as the next blessed here in the United States. He was the founder of the Knights of Columbus. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and God bless.